I live in sunny Queensland, Australia, where the weather seems to fall into three categories: hot and dry, hot and humid, or thunderstorms, often bringing severe floods, tennis ball-sized hail, or sometimes both. Up in the Gold Coast Hinterland, though, the first two aren't so bad. The mountains stay cool, thick fog is common, and there's even a little ice in the winter. One winter, we even had some snow, which was a rare event around here. It wasn't much, but it felt like a blizzard to me. Most winters, though, are just cold enough to make you want to stay in bed, as winter often does. The hardest part was getting up at 6 a.m. to walk to the bus stop at the end of the street. The 15-minute walk felt like hours in the cold. I could have caught the later bus, but that would mean staying at school for an extra hour, and I really didn't like that. Once we finally got to school, which was an hour's bus ride away, there was no sign of winter, it was always hot. The bus ride was typical school bus chaos, geeks at the front, seniors and popular kids at the back, just like every school bus ever. I usually sat about 3 seats from the front, not geeky enough to be up there, but not far enough back to be with the popular crowd. I'd save a seat for Jason, who was smaller than me but a complete nutter, which made the bus trip bearable. Julie and Bella sat across from us. The 4 of us usually ate lunch together unless Jason was sick, which happened often. Jason and I were the scruffy ones in school, wearing second-hand uniforms. We were the poorest kids, so we got picked on a lot, but we stuck together. Our similar size and auburn hair often made people think we were brothers, even though he was slimmer than me. As I said, Jason was the loud, energetic one, always in an excitable mood. Even at 6 a.m. Julie was the mature one from a wealthier family, a real stunner with long blonde hair and blue eyes. She had this air of grace and inner beauty that made you feel at ease. She'd only moved to the mountain that year, but it felt like we'd known her forever. Sounds cheesy, but she had this way of making you feel safe and willing to share your secrets. She probably knew all of us better than we'd like, but we didn't mind because we knew she'd never tell anyone. Bella was like a female version of Jason, though not as crude. She had that girl next door look with shoulder-length brown hair, hazel eyes, and a few freckles. She had this natural charm that made you feel comfortable around her, even if she was a bit mad at times. We were all in grade 8, the first year of high school. The bus ride itself was a bit tedious. The road down the mountain was steep, and the sound of the bus brakes drowned out any conversation. After a short trip through a dark valley, we'd go over a small range, then onto the highway, and finally to school. There were several floodways in the valley, so if it rained heavily, the locals would call the bus company, and we'd sometimes get a day or 2 off. Old Greg, one of the bus drivers, would drive around the bus stops, shouting out of his window, "Go home, you silly buggers." He was a nice guy, probably in his 50s, and would usually put the radio on while driving. He'd tease us by playing a 50s station like 4KQ before switching to something we actually liked, like Triple M or B105. School was your typical Aussie high school, single-story buildings spread out across the grounds, with a cozy picnic area in the middle. It looked just like it had before the school was built, natural and inviting. We'd even spotted a few koalas in the gum trees now and then. There was nothing particularly remarkable about our school, no standout sports teams or academic accolades, just another school, blending into the background. Life was pretty routine. I'd get up at 6 a.m. and get home around 4:30 p.m. Mom worked at a cafe, so I usually had an hour to myself before she came back. That time meant inevitable homework, followed by dinner and, of course, Bible study. Mom was a Jehovah's Witness, so that meant church on Tuesday nights and Sunday mornings, Bible study every evening, including group study on Fridays, and door knocking on Saturdays, and sometimes Sundays after church too. Everyone at school knew about my mom, how could they not? She'd knocked on enough doors in our neighborhood. Luckily, most knew I only went along because I had to. It was either that or go live with my dad, an alcoholic. Better the devil you know, I thought. At least with Mom, I didn't get beaten, not physically anyway. Dad wasn't into physical violence, but he had a knack for mind games. He could bring you from feeling on top of the world to a crying mess within an hour, then keep picking at you until you were on the edge, ready to break. That wasn't uncommon for me. That 1 hour I had to myself every day was the only thing that kept me going. I was taller than my mum, not that it mattered much, she was barely 5 feet, but we were about the same size otherwise. I'd put on one of her dresses and her shoes and wander around the house. Sometimes, I'd just lay on my bed crying or praying for God to turn me into a girl. I even tried getting more involved in the religion, hoping it would help God answer my prayers. It didn't. So I let it go. No point trying when there was no hope. But I kept praying anyway, just in case. He never heard me. So, I cried more. I hated everything about myself. The religion told me everything I felt and believed was wrong, immoral, sinful, disgusting. When I was younger, I used to wear my older sister's clothes. I envied her more than she'd ever know. Once, around 8 or 9, I'd taken one of her dresses and shoes so I wouldn't have to sneak into her room. Mom and she found them, and I denied everything. The clothes were in a Thomas the Tank Engine bag in my cubby house, so it was pretty obvious who had taken them. But I didn't admit it, and they seemed to drop it. I became more careful after that. I'd always been shy, but now I barely spoke to anyone except my friends, and even then, I was guarded. I was different, but I couldn't let anyone know. I think Julie suspected something, but I never told her, despite her trying to get me to open up. We'd talk sometimes on the school bus when Jason was sick again. But no deep conversations were happening there. I didn't need that, but I also did. One morning, as we were heading down the mountain, the bus was loud with the engine and brakes, and I couldn't hear a thing. I don't remember what triggered it, but I decided I would start checking out the guys from now on. As a cover, I'd also look at the girls, since I'd always done that anyway. Envy does that to a person. I figured if anyone caught me doing either, I'd just flip the story, and that would be enough of a cover. I was thinking, check out the guys, envy the girls, sounds like a plan. What was that? Julie, crap, did I say that out loud? Nothing, deny, deny, deny. She seemed to let it go. Good. I had to be more careful. Crunch, bang. What the hell? Noises, movement, flashing lights. I think I hear voices. Mom? No, someone else. No, there are several people. Get a theater. Number 2 is ready. Find Mr. Hawthorne. This isn't going to be easy. You take him. The movement continues. Pain. What? Where? It's okay, Owen. You're in the hospital. You'll be fine. Mom. That's good, I guess. What? What happened? My voice barely a whisper. The bus lost its brakes. It went over the edge, and you are injured. It's okay. I'm making sure the doctors do everything they can for you. Thanks. I'm sleeping. The next time I woke up, a nurse was adjusting something above my head. Hello, Owen. How are you feeling? I know, silly question, but how's the pain? Not too bad, I hope? No, it hurts, but it's not too bad. What happened? Your bus crashed. You were brought here to Southport Hospital. A lot of your friends are here, too. No, I mean, what happened to me? Well, the surgeon will be in later to check on you. He can explain things better than I can. Okay? Okay, thanks. I guess I'm not going to get much out of her. Your mom will be back in a sec. She just went to get some lunch. What time is it? Almost 1 o'clock. She's been here since you were brought in. She won't be long. I've got to run, but if you need anything, press the button and I'll be right here. I'm Nurse Shepherd, but you can call me Sarah, okay? Thanks, Nurse Sarah. Just Sarah will do. Okay, thanks, just Sarah." She smiled, shook her head, and left. I was still sleepy, so I turned my head to the side and dozed off again. When I woke up again, Mum was by my bed. She looked a bit upset, but determined that I would be fine. She wouldn't answer any questions I had about what happened. "The doctor will be along soon, I'm sure he'll explain everything," she kept saying whenever I asked. "Okay, Mum," I said, trying not to sound too upset by her refusal to talk. About 20 minutes later, the doctor came in, along with Sarah. "Hi, Owen. I'm Mr. Whitaker. How are you feeling? Not too much pain, I hope?" "No, Mr. Whitaker, it's not too bad," I said, getting straight to the point. "I'd like to know what's wrong with me. No one wants to say anything. They just keep telling me to wait for you." He cleared his throat. Yes, well, I thought it would be best to explain things clearly, straight from the source. No confusion that way." I silently nodded, waiting for him to continue. "Well, you're not in the best shape. The bus window shattered, so you've got several cuts from the glass. Nothing too serious, though we had to do some minor surgery and put in a few stitches where the cuts were deeper. The seats in front of you were pushed into your legs. Don't worry, your left leg is fractured, but your right is just cut and bruised." "So it's nothing too bad?" I asked slowly. "I should be fine?" He furrowed his brow for a moment. Mum reached over and took my hand. "Oh, this isn't good," I thought for a moment before asking, "So, what's the worst of it?" "Well..." I was really getting tired of those two words. "You had your school bag on your lap, and it seems the steel ruler you had in there was forced into you when the seats crushed back. I'm afraid there was irreversible damage to your inner thighs." I paused, processing what he was saying, and then realized what he was implying. "Are you saying my, down there, is?" "I'm afraid so," he cut in. "Your penis was severely damaged and partially severed." He took a deep breath. "They were apparently severed in the crash, and unfortunately, they weren't recovered." I think I froze when he said that. The old saying that every cloud has a silver lining came to mind, and deep down, a warm feeling washed over me. As shocking as it was, I'd just lost what I hated the most. I was almost ecstatic, though the shock helped hide it for the moment. I just had to test it. It seemed almost too good to be true. "Are you saying I'm a girl now, Doc? I mean, Mr. Whitaker?" I asked, trying to hold back my excitement. Well, seriously, can he start any sentence without that? Normally, in cases like these, we would consider full gender reassignment the best option. However, your mother informed us of your religious beliefs, and that would not be acceptable or appropriate for you. So, we've created a prosthetic, an artificial phallus, so you can at least urinate in a male way. While that function is preserved, I'm afraid intimacy and fatherhood will never be possible." I slumped back into the bed. The joy I'd felt moments earlier vanished instantly. Shock took over as I processed what had just been said. I just lost everything I never wanted, and my mother told them not to turn me into a girl. The warmth that had briefly washed over me came back, but this time, it wasn't joy. It was rage. How could this doctor, or whatever he is, do this to me? I was so angry that I was shaking. Mum tried to calm me, but I threw her off and screamed at the surgeon, "How could you do this to me? Do you have any idea what you've done? You've ruined my life with your careless butchery and turned me into some kind of freak." As I screamed at the surgeon, Mum came back to try and calm me down. I shoved her off again, then turned my anger on her. Nurse Sarah, who had been standing by earlier, must have been thrown off too. I saw her reaching above me, and before I knew it, I felt something go into my fore. Soon after, I started drifting off again. When I woke up next, it was dark. The night nurse was checking my pulse. She introduced herself as Nurse Jones and asked if I needed anything to help me sleep. I ignored her question and asked if I could see Mr. Whitaker. Perhaps in the morning, when your mom gets here, she replied. No, I need to speak with him privately. I can't talk to him with Mum here. I'm sorry, dear, he's not available right now. But I'll see what I can do for you. Would you like something to help you sleep? I'm not really tired. Do I have to go back to sleep so soon? Sleep will help you heal, dear. And there's nothing worth staying up for at this time of night anyway. I guess. Can you tell me how my friends are? Julie and Bella? Bella went home yesterday, and Julie's not too bad. She's just down the hall. I'll let her know you asked about her. That would be great, thanks. Wait, what day is it? You said Bella went home yesterday? Yes, dear. You've been asleep for a few days. It's Friday night. I thought it was still Tuesday, or Wednesday at the latest. I guess I do need that sleep. Yes, you do. Do you want some help? I guess so. Okay, dear. Good night then, she said as she put something into my fore. Good night, Nurse Jones. Sleep well, dear. The warm sunlight filtered in when I woke, and I must have slept until mid-morning. For once, I was alone in my room. My throat was dry, so I reached for the water on my bedside table when I noticed a folded sheet of paper. I grabbed it to see what it was. Hi, Shorty. The nurse passed your message along this morning, so I thought I'd let you know I'm fine, well, as fine as I can be, considering. She says we're just down the hall from each other, so whoever gets out of bed first has to visit the other, okay? Did you hear all that yelling yesterday? Someone was pretty pissed about something, that's for sure. Hope you're okay. Love, Julie. Sarah came in while I was reading. I asked if I could get a pen and some paper to send a note back to Julie. She said she'd see what she could find, then went on to check on me and ask how I was feeling about what I'd heard yesterday. I don't like it at all. I thought everything was going to be fine until that last bit. I can't believe what they've done to me. It's not right. Well, Mr. Whitaker did his best with what he had. The accident caused most of the damage, and he just tried to repair it according to your wishes. Yeah, I know. But that's the problem. It wasn't my wishes he followed, it was my mum's. I had no say in any of it, and now I'm a freak or something. You're not a freak, Owen. Shorty. Call me Shorty, I interrupted. I hated my real name. Sarah gave me a small smile and continued, okay, Shorty, but you're not a freak. You're as close to a man as Mr. Whitaker could make you, but you're definitely not a freak. I know. That's kind of the problem. What do you mean? If I tell you, will you promise not to tell anyone? I mean, you can tell Mr. Whitaker, but not my mum. I don't want her to know yet. Of course, I won't tell anyone. Promise. What's going on? Okay, I took a deep breath. My mum's beliefs and mine aren't the same. I only go along with her religion because if I don't, I'll have nowhere to live. A lot of kids your age feel that way. It'll get better as you get older, she said. No, that's the thing, I replied. We believe completely different things. That decision she made for me, about the surgery, I would never have agreed to it. Ever. No matter what. You know? Sarah paused, her gaze flickering between me and an unseen spot. Are you saying what I think you are? You'd rather Mr. Whitaker had made you a girl? Is that what you mean? I'd never admitted that to anyone. I shut my eyes, trying to hold back the tears. Breathe, just breathe, I told myself. I nodded at Sarah, unable to speak at that moment. It's okay, sweetie. Is that why you got so upset yesterday? Yes, I choked, tears breaking through. I was in shock. then I started to feel happy when the doc. Mr. Whitaker, said what happened. But when he told me what my mom had made him do, I couldn't believe it. It was like my dreams were right there in front of me, and then they were taken away at the last minute. Oh dear, and your mom doesn't know any of this? No, I whispered. She'd kill me if she knew. She thinks it's all disgusting. That men are men and women are women, and nothing should ever change that. She doesn't understand. It's just her beliefs, and she thinks everything else is wrong. But it's not wrong. It's more right than anything. She just doesn't get it. She doesn't care. I'm sure she does care. She just doesn't understand. Some people are like that. I guess, I said, my voice faltering. Can you find Mr. Whitaker for me? I really need to talk to him, alone. I don't want my mom here right now. He should be around in about half an hour or so. I'll let him know you want to see him without your mom in the room. Thanks, Sarah. Could you get me some paper and a pen? Sure, sweetie. Won't be long. Ta. A few minutes later, Sarah came back with a notepad and a pen. I thanked her, then set about writing a note for Julie. Just as she was about to leave, she stepped back in. Your mom's on her way in. Do you want to see her? She whispered. I shook my head. Sarah winked and left. I could hear her talking to Mom, but I couldn't make out what was said. Mom never came in, so I went back to writing my note to Julie. About 10 minutes later, Mr. Whitaker entered, with Sarah a few steps behind him. I put down the notepad as she shut the door and took a deep breath, bracing myself for what was about to happen. Nurse Shepherd has informed me that you're not happy with the surgery I performed, and that the decision your mother made wasn't in line with your wishes. Breathe, just breathe. Yes, that's correct. Well, I'm sorry for the trouble. Had I known this at the time of the surgery, I would have proceeded in accordance with your wishes. Are you sure this is what you want? Oh, thank you, God. Yes, I've always been sure, even before the accident. Okay. He paused, thinking for a moment. At the time of the surgery, it was an emergency procedure, so I could have done it then. However, now it's no longer an emergency, and I can't perform any further procedures without the proper permissions. And since you're not yet an adult, I won't be able to proceed with anything until you reach legal age. I'm sorry, but my hands are tied. Not again, please, not again. Isn't there any way? Please? I begged. I'm sorry, but unless there's a complication with the surgery or you sustain further injury, I can't do anything. It just isn't possible. But there is a problem with the surgery. I never wanted it done. I know, but that doesn't change things, unfortunately. On the bright side, you're in a better position than before, at least you won't go through male puberty. I'll also make a note in your records that you should not receive any hormonal treatments for masculinity. I'm afraid that's the best I can do, okay? Okay. Thank you, at least you've given me some hope. Yes, thank you. Hope, indeed. We'll leave you to your writing then, Mr. Whitaker said, and Sarah added, give me a buzz if you need anything, as they headed for the door. I gave a forced smile, nodded, and reached for the pen beside me. Oh, Mr. Whitaker? Yes. You know what to do. And with that, I drove the pen straight into my inner thighs. I saw them rush back toward my bed, but before I could process anything, I blacked out from the pain.